Desert. Desert. All right, hey, welcome to another episode of Brothers of Metal. I'm John.
And I'm Michael.
And today's episode, we have for you our top 5 Desert Island album picks.
Yep.
So if we were stranded and given a solar-powered CD player and
That'd be the only way, right?
5 CDs, what would those albums be?
Yep.
And so we're just going to do the first 5 and hope that there's like a FedEx plane that just lands in the ocean with more of our CDs. And
Yeah.
we can do more of these. I don't know.
Yep.
But yeah, so
this was difficult, not an easy task here.
No, it sure wasn't. And so we talked about, would these be like our 5 absolute favorite, and so yeah, kind of. At least that's what it was.
Kind of.
But
it's also like the 5 albums that you could just listen to over and over again and never get tired of,
right.
Which is usually your favorite, but it could,
Sure, and then you have to think about, like, what if I only had these 5? So
yeah, exactly.
That's kind of what we're going with. So
yep.
All right, let me get this started here with my first pick, and then I'll kick it over to you, bro.
All right.
So first
Let's see it.
It's be a continuation of our previous episode, but I'm going to go with Dream Theater, Awake from '94.
Sweet.
Try to avoid some glare there. But,
cool artwork on that too.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I do miss classic Dream Theater artwork for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say there's much to rave about with 6 Degrees, although it's interesting.
Yeah.
But
I miss Systematic Chaos isn't the best cover either, but they had some really good ones, especially early on.
They did. Yeah, they're not all winners, but I'm not the biggest fan of like the last handful because it's just too digital. And there's a way to do digital, and there's a way to do. I mean, I think.
Although I really like Dramatic Turns because it was just so simple and sleek. Yeah. And just kind of a cool concept, but yeah, it is maybe a little too digital. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what they've been going with for a while. But anyway, musically, I mean, we talked about it in the last episode, but this is a record that when I've had just too much on my mind and I can't just get past it. This is the record that I've always gone to kind of. It's gotten me through some hard times. It's just processing things. It's just kind of helped calm my mind down a bit. And so it probably the one Dream Theater record that I wouldn't want to be without.
Okay.
So kick it over to you, bro.
All right. Well, since you started with Dream Theater, I too start with the Dream Theater album. Metropolis Part 2, Scenes from a Memory. From our last video, so I ranked this my favorite Dream Theater album. I was thinking about going with Train of Thought because that's an album I can listen to all day, every day. But I just couldn't be without Metropolis Part 2. It's my favorite Dream Theater album. It's so good that it's almost like I'm surprised every time I hear it by little things, even though I've heard it a million times. It's so perfect, and it's the best concept record. I never get tired of it, really, and I just think it's their masterpiece. And it's also really diverse sounding. There's a lot of influences in it. A Train of Thought maybe a little more one note. This has a little bit of everything. So it's an album I could listen to forever. So that is my first choice.
So if we're on this island together, could I borrow yours?
I suppose you can. Yeah. Awake is an excellent choice though, because
those are the 2 I had the biggest struggle with. I was like, well, there's gonna be a Dream Theater album that I'm gonna have with me, but between Metropolis and Awake, but because Awake has been that one that I've sort of needed from time to time. That's what I have to go with.
It's more, I could see it being more personal.
Yeah,
for sure.
So next for me is gonna be my favorite Savatage record.
Okay.
It's Streets, a rock opera.
Nice.
I would grab this 2013 reissue, the narrated version, because future segment, bro. I'll have to get you to listen to this and tell me what you think. But the narration really helps with the story on this one. John Oliva did all of the spoken word parts, and
Okay.
it's just really fun. But it really helps kind of bridge the songs together, so you know, okay, this is what basically the narration is. There's this homeless guy who's just on the streets of New York City, and there's I guess waiting for a bus or something like that is another guy, and he's like, hey, let me tell you about this story. And so he just goes through the story, and so in between songs there's more of the story. But the poetry that Paul O'Neill wrote for the narration is just so perfect, and it's like almost needed. But musically, I mean, man, this is every year when I kind of go on my Sabotage kick, I usually start with Streets.
Okay.
I find it every time I listen to it to be more and more of a spiritual story. It's
Okay.
very much a redemptive story. I think the whole Jesus saves things is a big double entendre, because the story basically ends with the man calling out to God, calling out to Jesus, and he just basically repents of his life, and his soul is saved. Basically, that's the end of the album.
Do they play any of? Because it sounds familiar. Do they do any of this with the TSO?
They've done. Yeah, they've done. So the album ends with Believe, and Believe is kind of like the how do you say? Kind of like it's not necessarily a continuation of the narrative. It's more like if you were watching like a musical or an opera or something like that. It's sort of like that kind of encapsulating end piece that's sort of, giving you the theme. So yes, they've done Believe, and they've also recorded Believe with TSO.
Okay, cool.
And but it's just a great album. There's still though in there. There's great riffs. There's just Chris Oliva doing what Chris Oliva does, just masterful guitar work throughout the whole thing. And anyway, can't say enough great things about this album. Definitely want to talk about it more some other day.
Yeah,
but
that would be a good make a fan out of you. Even though there are Sabotage records that I really like, but I haven't, really dove into all of them. So
yeah,
one day. All right. Choice number 2. Now this is no particular order. This is just our top 5. So I'm gonna go with a surprise one. I don't think you'd. I mean, even though I rave about this album a lot, but you may not think.
Okay, what you got?
The Circus Maximus 9, actually.
Okay.
This is a band that I often say if they released an album every couple of years, they might move into my top slot. I love Circus Maximus. They're kind of like Dream Theater, where it's Ignore, When Dreaming Day, but when you have Images, Awake, and then you kind of have a little bit of a flop with their third. Circus Maximus, their first 2 were Gold, and then I Love 9, and then Havoc. A lot of people didn't like Havoc for whatever reason, so they haven't made an album since. I think people, including yourself, were overly critical, and it kind of derailed them. I don't know if they've lost their confidence. I don't know what's going on. It's been, I don't know, 6-7 years? It's been a long time since Havoc came out, and I'm devastated because I love this band. So this album was a big change in direction for them, to the point where when I really got into them, and I got into them in like 2 seconds. I was listening, I think, to Dramatic Turns, and then iTunes recommended their debut, the first chapter, and like after like 1 millisecond after I clicked, I was like, "Yep, love this band." And so I listened to their first 2 records. This time I listened in order, so I checked out their first 2 and I loved them. And then I heard the first single of 9 because it just came out at the time. And I was like, is that even Circus Maximus? Once you listen more, it is, but it was very different, very, I don't know, contemporary, maybe? It sounded really modern. It had pop influences, and just very different. But it also had the prog elements. So I think it's an album that I could just listen to anytime because it fits any mood. The songs are amazing. And Michael Erickson just happens to be one of my favorite singers. He's one of those singers that I'm always in the mood for. He's just one of my favorites. It kills me that he doesn't release an album every couple of years with something. Do any project, I don't care, and I'll love it. he probably is in my top 5 favorite singers, but he's one of those singers, like I love Russell Allen and Jorn Land, but sometimes they could do an album that's not that great, especially Russell because he does so much. I think Michael Erickson's a guy who could do no wrong, and I could just listen to his voice at any time. And it's just a perfect album to me. It's so catchy, and it's just I love it. There's so many. Also, it kind of if I'm ever in the mood for more of a classic rock style of music, it fits that need, and then it has the enough heaviness. It's proggy, so it has a little bit of everything for me. So
I
that
love
is
the guitar tone on
yeah,
this
it's
one
perfect.
especially.
Yeah, especially
very
given the
good.
fact that these guys probably didn't have a ton of money going towards this record. They made it sound like, it's a super, heavily produced record. So
Yeah, I think that was the album that where they clicked for me.
mhm.
Was 9, and a good comparison there with Dream Theater because we both agree Falling into Infinity is a really great album,
Yeah,
but it does divide some fans, and I think 9 does the same thing. I know
Yeah.
for a fact that
it does. Yeah.
I know Ken Golden was talking about that, the one who runs Laser's Edge.
hmm
Who I believe Laser's Edge Sensory put out the first 2,
Okay.
his label.
Yeah.
And he's not a fan of 9 at all, he was saying. And
Yeah.
so it's definitely was divisive in some ways, but I love the pop elements, but then there's also some really heavy moments. I mean,
Yeah.
um,
Was it Burn After Reading, or that gets really heavy? Oh, I have it
Yeah.
right in front of me. Maybe I should consult the back here.
Look at the track listing there.
Burn After Reading is really heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and Namaste is a little heavy, and
Oh yeah, it's
even
got kind of like a like extreme vocals from
yeah, that's right, from the drummer.
Mhm.
Yep. And then and Architect of Fortune is heavy at times.
Yep.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is Burn After Reading the
That's the one
Ring
you
rock I collected?
Yeah,
Bringing Me Down. Yeah,
that's the one you have lyrics to, right?
Yeah, I when I was they were crowdsourcing the Havoc Live from Oslo Blu-ray, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna pay for the price tier to get some handwritten lyrics.
Yeah.
And I know that Michael didn't write lyrics to that one, but
He was a bass player, but
oh, was it? It's
believe
just
so.
that him singing that particular chorus and just those lines. I was like, it's got to be you writing those lyrics, and so
yeah, it's
Yeah,
almost
it's
like
my wall.
in the case of like Foreigner, where Lou Gramm didn't write the lyrics to "I Want to Know What Love Is," but
yeah,
I
he
mean,
made it his
he
own.
made it his own. So
Yeah,
yeah,
right on. Okay, so
Right.
my third is going to be my favorite Iced Earth album,
okay,
Glorious Burden.
that's your favorite. I had no idea it was your favorite.
Yeah, I think it is. For a long time it was Horror Show because that was kind of my introduction. And I really want my favorite Iced Earth album to be with Matt, but it's
Yeah,
it's not.
that's what I
And
was gonna
there's
ask.
little tastes of Matt here and there sprinkled throughout the Glorious Burden. There's
Yeah,
some
that's
backing
true.
tracks that he
That's
still
true.
did.
Yeah,
And I love that. And especially on the acoustic when the eagle cries, you can definitely hear him in the background.
that's one of the best songs ever written. Period.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, he's got some lyric contributions on here still. Love to hear his recordings of this though before he left. I know those are out there.
I
and they
know.
exist.
Oh, he did record them.
Yeah.
Okay, man.
Yeah.
That would have
And
been cool.
John felt it was a little uninspired and kind of was like, hey Matt, now's probably the time. And then Tim came in, and I think they recorded vocals in 5 days.
Man,
But I mean,
I
that's
do think
Tim.
it's one of the greatest vocal performances, metal vocal performances ever.
Oh.
I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
anyone can match
That's
in
peak
that
Tim.
style. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, him at his absolute best. Fresh off of Judas Priest, and songwriting on here is just killer. The vocal arrangements, the harmonies, the overlays. I mean, this is John taking what he learned working Demons and Wizards
Mm-hmm.
and having a whole album under his belt with Horror Show with that influence, and then having a guy like Tim, who, no disrespect to Matt, whose voice I actually enjoy more.
Yeah,
Tim's just a different animal, and he was especially at that age.
unlimited range that no other human can touch. Yeah.
Yep. and I just love the historical aspect of it, and then of course, the Gettysburg trilogy is
Mhm.
still probably my favorite thing. I mean, it's just
I think it's my favorite metal song ever.
right.
We may do that. We may do that at some point. Our
Yeah.
favorite top 5 favorite metal songs, and that will
Spoiler
be
alert,
on the top of the
gonna be
list.
Gettysburg.
Yeah, Gettysburg.
Yeah. But yeah, just love that record, and yeah, couldn't see being without it.
That's a great choice. All right, next I'm gonna go with my favorite Camelot album, The Black Halo.
Oh,
What would you
nice.
classify Camelot as? Are they power metal?
Yeah.
Okay, it's the
sure.
greatest power metal album
It's
ever.
just
Then
it might be, and that's the thing is I think power metal, because there's a lot of not so great examples. You feel almost bad about labeling
that's so
something
true.
you
I
like
know.
power metal.
Yeah.
But you think about it, I mean, gosh, they called Savatage power metal back in the day, but that was, sort of like the American variant, and then you had the European stuff.
Yeah.
And, it all stems from the same place. I mean, those early, well, not early, but, the 80s output from Maiden or Priest or Dio and that type of stuff for sure. And then, you had Manowar. But I mean, or Blind Guardian,
Yeah.
right? I mean, totally.
Blind Guardian and Camelot are kind of like their own thing. It's like
They are.
comparing anime. It's like Dragon Ball Z, and then you got everything else. Yeah, it's like
That might be debatable by some folks, but
yeah.
you know what
Not
else
me.
though? There are bands that have just done direct rips though of those of like who you just mentioned. Like we know of a band that's like just trying really hard to be just like Camelot, and I can think of a couple that are trying really hard just to be Blind Guardian, and so
Yeah.
yes, they are their own thing for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a perfect album. It's a great concept record. I think it's Roy's greatest performances, and it has my favorite
Oh, yeah.
Camelot songs, which I mean, probably the first 3 tracks: March of Mephisto, When the Lights Are Down, The Haunting, and Abandon are probably my 4 favorite Camelot songs. They're perfect.
Yeah.
Roy he's what Steve Perry is to metal, I would say, or what Steve Perry is to rock is what Roy is to metal. There is no other Roy Khan. His voice is so completely unique, and he almost has a completely different style. Maybe Eric, Savior Machine, your friend, is one of those as well, where it's like he invented a different style of singing, and he has so much emotion. It's like he's pouring out his soul every time he sings, almost to where he's almost brought to tears as he sings. It's really unique where he's able to connect emotionally, and I love the story. Definitely a spiritual element to that as well.
Yeah.
And I love the guest vocals from Simone, and I just can't hear that enough. And then that was
Shagrath, don't forget.
That's right. Yeah, it's heavy, but then
we need a Mephistopheles character. Who are we gonna go for?
Yeah,
like that's perfect.
It was perfect for that video. And this album gets super heavy, and then it's some of the prettiest music you'll ever hear in your life. So it's got it all.
You talked about Roy's vocal performance, Abandoned.
Yeah,
it might be his best.
It might be his best.
He hits. I mean, gosh, as a singer, I can tell you, he hits his lowest notes and maybe not his highest, but pretty close, like in the same song. And granted, they multi-tracked it in the studio, but it's incredible.
But I mean, what was that? The live DVD, which is one of my favorite live DVDs.
Oh, he nails it.
Yeah, it's just perfect, and I love how the camera zooms out, and he just looks so cool. He has such a cool stage presence, and so I just love that album.
It's a great one. And that was the album that introduced me to Camelot too.
Yeah, me too.
And
that's what made me a fan anyway.
Solid. All right, so I'm gonna take a real left turn here, and go with I don't
know if I'm ready for this.
Not a metal album, because here's what I was thinking. In terms of my favorite albums, if this is all I had on me, I'm gonna need a break somewhere. Like before I get to my last pick, which is gonna be, shocker, another metal album. We've got just epic. I got a concept album here. Lots of notes, just so many notes. And I'm gonna need something that's just a little more song oriented. That's but still
A
has
little
depth to it.
simpler. Yeah.
A little simpler. It has depth to it. Great performance. And so anyway, I'm gonna go with "Fumbling Towards Ecstasy," which is Sarah McLachlan, her third album.
That's out of left field for sure.
It is, right? This is something I would need for sure, because it's just that tenderness, sweetness of her voice. It's the performance. Her vocal performance on this is incredible. The songwriting is really cool, and this is not a conventional pop album.
Mm-hmm.
It has those moments, but at some point I'll have to share with you a song like "Ice" or "Fear." That you could almost say are heavy songs.
Yeah.
There's guitar parts that are definitely in there throughout the album that are kind of heavy, and she did that even on the follow-up album. But it's produced incredibly well, and there's some happy songs, there's some really sad songs, it's got it all, and yeah, it just has such a vibe. So usually, like on long drives, it's not Dream Theater playlist. It's usually kind of something like that, just to kind of have moments of like reflection and just sort of just quiet.
Yeah, has a calming effect. Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I would need for sure.
Sweet. All right. So number 4, and again, no particular order, but this is number 4. Symphony X, The Odyssey. It's definitely has to be in my top 5. It's the album that really made me a fan of metal. It's another perfect record. It's not a concept album, but you got the long epic title track, and it's just amazing. Russell's performance on here is probably his best, I would say, consistently. It has my favorite kind of Symphony X ballady song and Accolade 2. The Odyssey has a little bit of everything, and it's one of the greatest songs ever composed. And then, it's heavy, not too heavy. Let's see. I gotta look at some of the songs. Yeah, I mentioned Accolade 2. It's got one of the best intro songs, that riff on Inferno. And again, I probably listened to this album like a month straight when I discovered it, and it made me a fan of metal, and it just has to be included. And Symphony X is the other band. If they released albums consistently, they would be fighting Dream Theater for my favorite band. So can't get enough. Symphony X does no wrong in my book.
Right on. And it's 20 years old today.
Oh, really?
Really?
That's cool.
Yep.
I didn't see that on their Facebook post, but awesome.
And so my number 1 is The Odyssey.
Oh, sweet. Hey, would you look at that?
Well, not number 1, but
yeah, in your top 5.
Top 5. And you've already said enough about it. I just love the Odyssey title track so much. Mm-hmm. It's just the coolest journey. I mean, when you finally get to Champion of Ithaca, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's the best ending to a song.
Nothing better.
No.
Nothing better. And then to close it out the way it opens, to the woman that I love,
Oh yeah. Oh, I know.
Just
the opening part where it's the same theme.
Yeah.
Is it's amazing.
Yeah. And then this version, I don't know if yours has it, but the re-recording of Masquerade is really, really nice.
Mine doesn't have that one, but
no.
Yeah, I have heard it.
Yeah, it's great.
That doesn't count because we're just talking about the Odyssey. So.
Well, that's a nice,
nice bonus.
These are the CDs I get to take with me.
That's true. That's true.
And by the way, I didn't mention this about that Streets reissue, but it also has a DVD. So perhaps there's a solar TV that landed as well.
TV and a DVD player with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna get music videos and some bonus tracks. So
okay.
You got to think. And,
I wasn't thinking in those terms. I might have brought Systematic Chaos just for the DVD.
Right. Well, so I thought, like, if this was a real life scenario, I'm probably gonna grab a couple best ofs as well. You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah.
Like, I can't decide which Queensryche album to choose if I had more than 5 to pick, but probably just go best of Queensryche, just because, why not? Anyways,
some bands have the perfect best ofs. I think
Yeah.
Dream Theater should maybe release another one, but I love their
Mhm.
supposed one hit and a bunch of really cool songs or something. I forgot what it was called. But
Yeah.
clever title. But they
Huh?
even have
Greatest Hit is what it was called. Greatest Hit
Greatest Hit.
and something 21 other pretty cool songs or whatever it was
Yeah,
called.
because even I think Portnoy, I don't know did he re-record the drums?
No,
Because
they just
used
they
programmed
remixed
drum.
it.
Okay,
It wasn't a programmed drum, it was just a trigger.
a trigger. There you go. Yeah, sorry.
So they turned it off. But you know what though? I missed the trigger. I listened to those songs
Really?
recently without. Yeah, you need the trigger.
Okay.
It's just part of the whole package. It's like you can't, now that you've only heard those songs all these years with it, you take it
Yeah.
off and it's just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
No, I don't like the song at all.
Pull Me Under's terrible now. All about that trigger.
Yeah.
All right, what you got for your
All
last
right.
one?
So my final one. Evergrey, Hymns for the Broken.
I definitely need to borrow yours from time to
Yeah.
time.
Ah, so sweet. I also own this on gold vinyl that John gave me.
One of
It's
300.
One of 300, and it's signed by the entire band. The band,
Oh,
they're
nice.
cool guys too. We met them, I think, twice. Yeah, they're very nice guys. Anyway, it's the album that, like you were saying about some of yours, that if you're going through a difficult time, this is the album I would turn to.
Mhm.
It's really, I think, personal to Tom for sure, and yeah, anyone who's struggling, this is a perfect album for you. It's actually, for being such a dark, kind of a grim band, this is where they start kind of making more uplifting stuff, I think. Like we're all in this together type of songs. And I think it's their best album. I think it's absolutely perfect. And it's musically, I could hear the songs a million times and I still get goosebumps. It's just, man, it's just perfect. And some of Ricard's best keyboard work, the solos, and then Tom's performance on it, amazing. And then yeah, I love the title track. This album has everything, and it was cool because this is the album.
Grand Collapse.
Yeah, the Grand Collapse. They
Grand
could write
Collapse.
a song. What's the one where it has like 6 words, and is that Grand Collapse? And it's still like amazing.
No, but Grand Collapse, I just love that Came So Close, You I.
Oh yeah.
And then it goes.
That could have been it.
the-
Just the only
like
lyrics, and that song would have.
Yeah. But that riff that takes out through the and also too, like you mentioned Ricard. I mean, what is he doing? That main melody he's playing on the keyboard during that whole section is just it's so sparse and open, but it's so effective.
Yeah, that's
know?
It's the emotion he provides. He's not like a shredder.
No, but it's one of those things I miss about Kevin Moore.
That's true. Yeah.
And I Jordan is amazing. Sometimes I wish he'd play less.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just back away a little bit and just kind of play exactly what suits the song. And Ricard is the master of that. It totally is.
He is. Yep.
And then the riff too. I mean, it's mostly just on that open like E string, just. But I mean, like Tom has always been the best at just figuring out, like how to effectively syncopate like one chord.
I know. Amazing. He knows how to make the best out of his abilities. Just. Yep.
This is also the sort of reunion album too, which is
because it was when I really just became a fan, and then shortly after they announced that they were back together with the previous band, and it was just perfect timing because they did it in such a clever way, doing it through the music video where you didn't even know who the members were until they revealed it in the actual music video.
Okay.
So it was really, really cool, and I love that music video too. I think that's when they started working with
Patrick.
There you go, Patrick Ulysses.
Did they didn't work with him before that, for sure?
As not that I know of. At least the videos didn't look the same. He has a style. Maybe on.
They've had.
Wrong. Was he the director on Wrong? Oh.
Maybe when we do our Evergrey episode, we'll have to have that in check because
definitely.
they have videos going all the way back to the first album.
That's true.
But
I do appreciate it.
They definitely, you're right though. In Hymns for the Broken, those music videos, they took a definite direction into new territory.
Mm-hmm. To where they're very open, not just kind of zoomed in on the band. The
art direction, cinematography, especially on especially on the next record, man. I mean, gosh, some of
Oh,
the
yeah.
shots they got it. Where were they, in Iceland or something?
I know, it looked amazing when he's walking through the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he's kind of doing that with Silent Skies now. But,
Oh, right.
mm.
Well, anyway, yeah. I mean, sounds like our 5.
Yep. And I feel
Okay.
good about him. I don't
All
think
right.
I would.
We don't have anything else. We don't have food, water, shelter, but we got our 5 CDs. And
That's right. That's all we
have
need. All we need.
Solar powered CD player. Let's hope there's sun.
Yeah.
You know, we're not somewhere where there's no sun. But all right. Well, cool. We wanted to try to keep this video a little shorter and just share a
Yeah.
little bit about, you know, our favorites. So I think we'll have to do this again, right? Let's hope we can
Yeah, definitely. I
get
could
a
do
few more albums somehow.
part 2 for sure.
All right,
Yeah.
right on. Well, that does it for this episode of Brothers of Metal. I'm John.
Michael, see you next
and,
time.
Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Take care.